And we're on. Hi, everybody around the world.
Hello,
Hi.
everybody.
Hello, lovely Tanya. Are you introducing me or am I introducing you?
I was supposed to be introducing you.
Oh, well, I'm ready. Okay.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to What the Bleep is Being with Dr. Dain Heer. Back to you, Dain. Do you want to talk about what is being? I don't know what being is either.
Good point. Well, let's talk about this for a moment because I wrote a book called Being You, Changing the World. And so, how did this hangout come about? Well, a lot of people have this idea that if they wake up, they must be being them, right? Except what happens is most of us have created our lives and make a lot of the choices in our lives and created a lot of the relationships in our lives and sometimes the money situations in our lives and different things, not from us getting to be us and what we'd like to really choose, but from some point of view that we bought along the way, our mothers, our fathers, or somebody else's. And so we tend to sort of live these lives that don't have nearly as much to do with us and getting to actually be us as we might like. And so, what the million dollar question, what is it, what is being, or what is being you? And basically it's like where you can be in any situation and have a sense of peace, where you can have a sense of ease, where you can feel just basically cool about the situation. If you've ever gone to a party, for example, and there's all kinds of people standing around going, I'm so pretty and I'm this, and you kind of start feeling weird and a little twisted and a little off, that's when you're coming out of being you. If you go to that same party and you feel great being you, you don't have to try to prove anything to anybody. Feel good about you, feel good about everything about you. That's what you get when you're being you. So what the bleep is being, I mean, we're gonna expand more on that conversation, but also not just expand more on it, but give you some tools of how to get there for you, number one. But also what we're going to do is we're going to do some processing, which is something that we have available as this really cool tool from Access Consciousness, which is a way of changing the areas of your life that may not have been changeable before now. Imagine, so as we go, I'd like everybody out there to just get the sense of one thing that you'd like to change or have different. One thing that if it changed would give you a lot more happiness and a lot more ease in your life and a lot more sense of the ease of being you. So as we go, I'm going to have you basically insert that thing into the blank. And also with me just asking that question, there's all this energy that comes up with all the people watching all around the world that are like, I want this and I want this. And basically we all put that into the pot of what we're here to get and what we can contribute. And what it does, it lets me know what I can contribute to you. Because what you're here to get out of this may be totally different than what somebody else is here to get. And so when I ask you that question about what it is you'd like, all of a sudden you tap into your own database, your own, storage area for stuff, and you're like, oh, this is what I'd like to change. And then I can talk to that, and hopefully by watching this hangout or listening to it, depending on how you're participating, you will actually get a shift in your world. And that's the interesting part. That's the fun part. That's actually the really cool part of all this. And the cool part of Access Consciousness in general is it really is about the change that we can create, not just talking about things, but we talk about things so we can open doors so we can create change, so you're different after this and you have a more easy time being you. So there.
Okay, so how do you know that you're being you? Like, so that you're not the effect of everyone else. I know you said you've got that sense of peace, but what else can you say that would...
Well, there's a sense of joy also, and you can be in that, like you can have that sense of joy with anything that you're doing. It's kind of like, I mean, in my line of work, where I get to do workshops and go around the world doing so, there are all kinds of things that sort of are hiccups along the way a lot of times. Something won't show up when it's supposed to, or we'll be filming the class and there's no backdrop, or there's no lights, or there's something like that. And before, it used to tweak me so much. It was like, why is this not right? And what I finally got to as I started getting more of me in my life was I started getting to a sense of peace, even with the bumps in the road, so to speak. And I think the thing you want to get is there starts to be a sense of peace in your life. You start to have a sense of kind of, I want to say, liking you, which is really weird because there are a lot of people that don't, which is kind of funny. You know, and there are a lot of, it's interesting because we have, you know, one of the wonderful things about Australia is people there are, and I know there are a lot of people on from Australia, and I'll be coming to Australia in November and December, but a lot of people in Australia are like, hey, man, I'm just me, which is such a cool thing, and yet at the same time, like in so many other places around the world, there's sort of this, you know, they call it the tall poppy syndrome in Australia and in New Zealand, and they call it different things in different places, but there's this sense of if I become too much, then I need to slow myself down. Well, what I'd also like to talk to you about as we address this thing about you getting to be you is, what if you being you is more than you ever thought? What if you're actually already a tall poppy and you just haven't been acknowledging it? And my point of view is, rather than worrying about becoming a tall poppy, because the idea for those of you that don't know around the rest of the world is that when you're a tall poppy, you're the one that gets cut. Well, my point of view is become such a tall poppy, nobody can see you to cut you down, and become so big that they're afraid to cut you down because you might fall on them and kill them. So, kind of a different way of looking at it. And that's what you get from being you. It's like you don't worry about being a tall poppy, a short poppy, a poopy poppy, or whatever it is you're being that day. You start to get this willingness to be like, hey, you know what? This is me, and here I am.
Okay, so how do you not be affected by everyone else? That's probably one of the things. How do you stop being affected by everyone else so that you can still be? I know that I can, obviously, like, I'm different around my family, I'm different around other people, but, you know, when I'm in nature, I'll say I be when I'm with nature. So how do you keep that around other people without going into their shit?
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Oops, can I say shit? Oops.
Oh, you can say whatever you want. We're on the internet. You can say whatever you want here. And I'm glad you did, because, you know, that's how we would talk in normal life. I mean, you know, that's how we would be. And that's part of it. So what you want to recognize is one of the biggest things to become aware of is how aware you are. And this is kind of weird because it's almost like when you're around, not almost, when you're around when you're around other people. Well, let me back up a minute. Let me contrast that with what you talked about, which I thought was brilliant, which is when you go out in nature. When you go out in nature, the plants don't have a point of view. They don't look at you and go, oh my God, I can't believe you're dating the same kind of person. Oh my God, you know. They don't look at you and go, oh, you cheated on your diet again, didn't you? Or, you know, they don't have points of view. They're like, hi, you know. And the plants, you know, with the flowers on them are like, hi, I got a pretty flower here, smell me. I will make you so much happier, hi. You know, the plants don't have a point of view that's ever negative. They don't take a point of view. They're just there, willing to contribute whatever you're willing to receive. And if you walk by not seeing the flower's like, okay, no problem, I'm still a flower. You'll want to be more like that. But the reason it's easy to be you out in nature, you get this sense of peace when you're out in nature, is because nobody and nothing has a point of view that you can pick up on and take into your world and try to digest or try to bend, fold, staple, and mutilate you to try to deal with. See, what we've learned to do around other people is bend, fold, staple, and mutilate us to try to deal with their points of view and with their judgments, thinking that if we can just do that enough, then maybe they'll stop judging us. But the point is, does it ever work? I mean, Tanya, have you ever bend, fold, staple, and mutilated you for somebody and then they stop judging you? Has that ever happened?
No, never.
I know.
Never.
It's weird. Because when somebody judges, they just friggin' judge. And we act like, oh, if I cut off my arms and legs, maybe they won't judge the fact that I have such big arms and legs and I'm so strong. Or, you know, if I gain 50 pounds, maybe they won't judge the fact that I'm actually looking good today. If I, you know, or if I act stupid, or if I act like I'm poor, or if I act like I'm pathetic, then maybe they won't judge me, except it doesn't work. So now here's where the processing part of this conversation comes in. Okay, we have this really cool stuff called processing and access, and I'm hoping a lot of you guys saw the video of the class that was sent out that you could watch before this. If not, guys, please watch it. It is pretty friggin' cool, the change that can occur in your world in an hour by watching this thing, because you go on the energetic ride and the energetic journey. But if you want an example of what it's like to be you Look at Megan after I worked on her at the end of that class. Notice how, or during the class, notice how amazingly present she is, how amazingly vulnerable she is. Notice that there's no judgment in her world, but there is a willingness to have more. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of Italian. My hands move all the time. I'm like, ah! If I weren't sitting down, I'd be like, ah! And if you've ever been to a class with me, you know I tend to walk and run and jump and, you know, like a big 6-year-old. So sorry about that. And I also need to apologize because I have ADD, ADHD, OCD, and autism all rolled into one. So I've already gone off on 3 tangents from where I was starting. I apologize again. But if you want an example of being, notice the presence that Megan had. Notice that you could like reach into her world because she had no barriers to anyone or anything, and she had nothing to prove about who she was. All of a sudden, she's just like, hi, I'm here for everyone and everything, kind of like the plants and the flowers. Like, I'm willing to contribute to anybody who's willing to receive it, and if you don't want to receive it, that's no problem. I'm still going to be here willing to contribute when you're ready for it, and otherwise I'll just be here caring for you. That's the greatest example of the thing about what's it like when we're being us that I can give you. So back to my conversation about the processing part, because I realized if you watched the class, you've already seen access consciousness verbal processing. And if you haven't, I'm going to just jump into it because I don't want to take the time to explain it. But we'll send you a link to a video of me explaining the clearing statement if you haven't seen it yet. And so you'll get this in just a little bit. But it's what I'll do is I'll say, hey, we'll talk about something, and I'll bring it up, like where you bend, fold, staple, and mutilate you. Now, in everything else I'd ever done, we would have conversations like this, and they say, oh, you know how you make yourself less around your, you know, your mate or whatever, and I go, yeah, and then, but there was not a way to change it, and so I'd walk away going, wow, every time I'm around my mate, I make myself less, and I would make myself less even more because I hadn't changed it. What we do is we talk about this, about you making yourself less, and then we change it. This is the coolest part of this stuff, from my point of view. So, here we go. Blah, 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 blah. Sorry. This is me being me. Blah, 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 blah. It's kind of like a big 6-year-old puppy. Yeah. So everywhere you bent, fold, stapled, and mutilated yourself, and everywhere where you decided that if you could just do it enough and make yourself small enough, then the people around you would not judge you, and they might finally be happy, and they wouldn't make you wrong anymore if you just became less. It doesn't work. So everywhere you've done it, will you now destroy and uncreate it, please? I'm going to assume that's a yes, because this is one we probably all want to change. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Okay, so once again, it's right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, or pock and pod, either way, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And the middle of that clearing statement is sort of the meat of it. Everything else contributes to it. But it's the POC and the POD, which stands for going back to the point of creation or the point of destruction of wherever you created that limitation in the first place. And so it's kind of like if you could imagine like Asian superheroes of consciousness. POC and POD! So when you have something go on, you know, and you want to change it and you feel like you don't know what to do, just go POC and POD! POC and POD! POC and POD! And maybe things will actually start to change.
So, Dain, a couple of questions have just come in about when they're being, there seems to be like a distance between them and everyone else.
Yeah. You know what that distance is? When you're actually being you, is you no longer buy into the trauma and drama of other people's realities and their imposed limitations. See, what happens is, if you could imagine you're out in the woods once again, and there's this beautiful tree there, and you're like, I'm so angry, and you start yelling at the tree. What does the tree do? The tree goes, hi, you know, and you yell, and you maybe kick the tree, and the tree stands there and lets you kick it for as long as you want to, and it just keeps being a tree. It's a trauma and drama. They don't align and agree. They look and go, hi, if I can contribute anything, I'm here. Let me know. But until you ask for that, I can't really do anything. So, hi, I'm going to keep being an animal for now. You know what I mean? And so this is really the key to it. If we can look at sort of how the plants and the animals function, that's actually what's occurring. But what happens is what the people in your life do is they go, oh, well, you don't get me anymore the way you used to. And you know what? They're right. You don't get them the way you used to because you don't have the same points of view anymore. I feel like I just got a lot brighter. That was weird. You know, you don't have the same points of view anymore. You don't have the same stuff where you're trying to sort of like buy into their reality to make them feel okay about themselves. All of a sudden you're like, you know what? I adore you exactly as you are, and if you have to go through trauma and drama, I totally understand, and if I can help, I will just ask, and if I can give you a hug, I will just ask, and it's my pleasure to do all of that, but I'm not going to climb into the cesspool with you. So how many of you have been made wrong out there for not climbing into other people's cesspool? Everything that is times a gazillion, where you just run and creative, please. Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And once again, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
I was just going to say, and they're always like, oh, you're so unemotional. You don't have any emotions. You just don't care about this. You don't care about that anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you do become less owned by your emotions, but you have a greater depth of caring and a greater depth and breadth of joy and a greater depth and breadth of being able to contribute to people. And so what happens is, see, an infinite being, the four characteristics, and I'm gonna go into this just a little bit because it could be a deep, long subject where we could spend the rest of the hour, you know. But I'm gonna go into this for just real quick. An infinite being has four characteristics. They perceive infinitely, they know infinitely, they receive infinitely, and they be infinitely. And whether you know it or not, you're actually an infinite being. We just keep acting like we're less than that, but that's part of what I would hope that we could change. Well, it's part of what I know we can change. But so you have perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving. The lower harmonic of knowing, for example, is thinking. So which is faster, thinking or knowing?
Knowing.
Yeah. Knowing is instantaneous, and you can know all kinds of things that you've never been taught just by asking the question and letting your awareness show up. So it's the same thing with perceiving. See, what happens is we tend to take the lower harmonic of perceiving is feeling. So what happens is we take our awarenesses and we go, oh my God, I feel this way, and I feel this way, and I feel this way. But if we want to get free of that, all we've got to do is say, what is it I'm perceiving here that I haven't acknowledged? And all of a sudden, we take ourselves out of being owned by these feelings, and now we can go, oh wow, I'm perceiving this, meaning I'm aware of it. Because what's the difference between I perceive sadness and I feel sad? You know, when you perceive it, you don't own it. When you go, I feel sad, all of a sudden, you're sad. But what's weird is, one of the things that we found in Access is 98% of your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions don't belong to you. So are you really feeling sad, or are you just aware of the sadness that people may have around you? And so we have perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving that gets turned into thoughts, feelings, emotions, and our sex and no sex, like our sexual points of view, whether we're on or off or whatever. And so, which is where most people are trying to function and trying to create a reality. And when you don't align and agree with them, they get frustrated with you. So what you want to recognize is that if somebody says, oh, you're not emotional, or oh, you don't care anymore, what they've defined as caring is you connecting with them and you having a stable relationship with them based on the thoughts, the feelings, and the emotions. And when you say, hey, you know what, I mean, I think there are a lot of us out there who were in this game in one relationship or another in our lives, you know, sort of going into the trauma and drama and the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions and the significance of it all. And then one day we went, you know what, this is killing me. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And so all of a sudden we went, you know what, I'm not going to interact with you here. I need to be a little greater in my world now. And some of the people would go, oh my gosh, thank you so much. What a gift. And they would sort of become more, which is actually the gift that we offer when we're that way. Some people would be like, you know what, I hate the fact you just don't connect with me. You don't understand me anymore. It's like, no, it's not that I don't understand you. I just don't want to play down in the cesspool anymore. I don't want to play down here anymore. I want to play up here where I know is actually possible for us to stop getting stuck in this trauma and drama. So all of you who've made yourselves wrong, because there's been some point at which you've wanted to get out of the trauma and drama of a relationship that you were in, but you didn't know how to do it, you didn't know where to go, or you did do it and then you were made wrong for it, and you felt bad because you're always in a state of judgment of you anyway, which we're going to address in a minute, okay? And so you felt bad, and so then you went back to the relationship to try to prove that you still cared about that person, and then it was the same trauma and drama, and here you are going, man, I can't win. I don't even know what to do anymore. Everything that is, will you destroy and uncreate it, including everything you've done to make you wrong for choosing that.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And I apologize, Tanya. I know I talk a lot. Thank you for indulging me.
Okay, so you just talked about, you said you go back to being in judgment of you. So how does that affect you from being when you go into judgment? Obviously, it throws it out the window.
That's exactly what it does. It's one of the biggest killers of getting to be you that there is this constant state of judgment of us that we do. And one of the things that we found is there appear to be two different types of people on the planet, people that judge themselves continuously and always think they're wrong, who, by the way, are also the people who are always looking for something different and wondering why they feel like they don't fit in any group that's willing to have them. And those we call the humanoids, who tend to be in a constant state of judgment of themselves. And then there's this whole other group of people that never judge themselves. They always know they're right and you're wrong. And why do you always do all that weird stuff? Why can't you just sit there and drink beer and watch footy and be happy? Hello, dummy. And so if you're one of those people that's been in a constant state of judgment of you, truly, what if there's nothing wrong with you? And what if you're not nearly as fucked up as you thought you were? See, you thought shit was bad. I'm just raising the game a little. Okay, you know? Truly, what if you're not? What if you're not nearly as effed up as you thought you were? And what if there's actually a space that you can live for you that will actually allow you to know it? Because as we talk about what the bleep is being, that really is, I mean, that really is it, when you actually get to live without a constant state of judgment of you. And so this thing about us constantly judging us, it's like, so let's look at it this way for just a moment. Okay, how many of you out there have had the point of view that you're judgmental? You're like, me. Me too, I know the feeling. Now, if you've ever had the point of view that you're judgmental, do you realize that that one thing alone proves that you're not truly judgmental? Because people who are truly judgmental never think, oh my God, I'm so judgmental. They just know they're right. And you're wrong, by the way. So everything you've done to buy that you're judgmental when you're actually not, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And so what this really, a big part of this, like you said, what does judgment do to you? It basically kills you. Judgment is it's one of the biggest killers of possibility there is. It's one of the biggest killers of us being able to function from the magic we would like to be that there is. It's a phenomenal killer of everything that's great about us. So when next time you notice yourself judging you, just see a hand or a stop sign and see this. There you go, okay, right there. Okay, see that in front of you. Dr. Dain is like putting his hand on your head, you know, like we have over here in the U.S., we had these healers, you know, and they're like, are you ready for a healing? And they were these preachers on Sunday morning television. It was awesome. And they would do this thing, are you ready for a healing? And they would hit people on the forehead, and the people would fall back with the power of the Lord Jesus Christ. Praise be. Or they were paid, one or the other. But just imagine that, okay? Here we go. Stop. When you notice yourself judging, you just stop. See a hand, see a stop sign, and go, do I really want to go here right now? Do I have to go here right now? You know what? Pock and pod everything that creates that. And all of a sudden, things will shift and change in that moment. But it's you making the choice in that moment of, hey, judgment is coming up. Yes, I really think I should judge me. Yes, I really want to go into judgment of me right now, but no. And what you do is you take yourself out of the cesspool, which is down here, the poopy pool, and you go over here to the clear pool that has waterfalls and is like an infinity pool overlooking, I don't know, something beautiful. And literally, the funny part is it's our choice. And that's the thing that a lot of us don't realize, is it's our choice how we choose to feel, how we choose to act, whether we choose to judge us or not, these things are our choice, and we've given away that choice. We think the world runs us. Another aspect of being you is where the world no longer runs you, you get to run you. Where the world no longer can make you sad or depressed, you can go, world, you may want to do that, but guess what? Not today. It's not happening. Pock and pod the crap out of that, as an example. And so, the thing is that people often don't talk to us on this level. They don't say, hey, you know what? You can change this. Here you go. Here's a tool to do it. Or you can change this. Here's an awareness that you can. And I think it's one of the things that we've been missing, because nobody's talked to us on that level. Everybody acts like, you can't change it and the world is stronger than you. I say, pardon me, but bullshit. The world is not stronger than you. And it's time to have what you're here for, whatever that is.
So, Dain, would the judgment process help with that? Could you run through the judgment process again?
I would. Well, let me tell you what to do, because there's a specific judgment process we have in Access. I'll give you actually the first two parts of it. And well, I'll give you a few things here. I'm going to give you the first two parts of the judgment process first, but I want to give you a piece of information for when you find yourself judging someone or something else. So let me actually do that first. So basically, when you find yourself judging someone or something else, what you want to do is you want to ask, the only time you would judge anyone or anything is if you've been there and done that. Otherwise, you'd have no point of view about it. And I know that can sound weird, but let's say you see somebody, and they're sucking in their tummy and they're trying to prove that they're really big and sexy and whatever, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that. Well, could be that there was a time in your life where you tried to do that, you realized it doesn't work, and you see them doing it, you're like, don't you realize it doesn't work? Hello, I did that for years. It was absolutely stupid. So you go into this judgment of them. So anytime you go into judgment of somebody else, what you want to do is you want to go pock and pod when I was that, pock and pod when I did that. So think of somebody you've been in judgment of in the last couple of days or the last couple of weeks. Everywhere. So here's what we're going to do is think of them. Now pock and pod when you were that, pock and pod when you did that. And everything else that holds those judgments in place, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyond. So that's first if you're judging somebody else. Now let's talk about the thing where you're judging you. We have this really dynamic process in Access, and we call it, strangely enough, the judgment process. Woo. Okay, but what you want to do, first thing is, if you'll do that thing of seeing the hand in front of you and then just stop and pock and pot everything that makes you judge you, if that works, cool. If you're out of the judgment and you're on to something else, don't worry about going through this judgment process. If not, then what you want to do is you want to ask, what is my judgment of me with regard, actually, what is my judgment of this person or this situation? Like, what is my judgment here of whatever it is that you're judging? And then you go, and then this is where you get choice. So this is a cool part where you go, okay, am I willing to destroy and uncreate it? Now, destroy, and what I've been saying is not destroy and create, it's destroy and uncreate. In other words, are you willing to destroy the structure of judgment that you've created and everything the judgment puts in place? And are you willing to uncreate, meaning are you willing to take your creative energy out of holding the structure in place that you just destroyed and use that creative energy to start creating your life? So, the judgment process, one more time. What's my judgment of either this person or this situation? That's first. And then pot and pocket. And then the next part of it, what is my judgment of me with regard to this person or this situation? So just think of somebody that you've had this sort of, butting heads with in your life at this point. And just ask yourself, like how my camera moves? How cool is that? Just ask yourself, what is my judgment of this person or this situation? Everything that is, times a gazillion, we destroy and create it, please. Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And then what is your judgment of you with regard to this person or this situation? That's the big one usually. It's not usually our judgment of them. Usually it's our judgment of us about them or about the situation and what we haven't done or what we haven't been or how we haven't been or how we haven't contributed or something about us. So everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and create it, please. Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Now you want to do that? Probably 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 times. What's my judgment of them, of the situation? What's my judgment of me with regard to them, of the situation? And then all of a sudden what you're going to notice is there will be one layer where you ask that, and you may not get words, you may just get energy the whole time, but there'll be some energy or something that comes up in your awareness and you're like, oh my goodness, this is what's sticking me. So for example, I worked with a lady who, she had this judgment of a lady who used to be a really good friend of hers. And I did this process. I was like, what's your judgment of her? She's selfish. She doesn't understand me. She doesn't get me. I mean, these were the different things that came up. And then she came up with some choice 5-letter and 4-letter words. And we pot and pocked all that. And I said, so what's your judgment of you? And we went through different things. And the last judgment was, I said, so what's, and we went through like 10 layers. And then I said, what's your judgment of you? And she went, oh my gosh, that I let her down and I haven't been there for her. I was the one person she could trust, and I judge myself for not being there for her. And we pot and pocked out. I said, how do you feel about her? She went, oh my God, I feel a closeness with her that I only felt at the very beginning of our friendship when we really were there for each other, and I'm going to call her right now. I was like, wow, cool. So this is a great way to change a situation whether you have a judgment of you or somebody else.
What about your body too, Dain? Like, when you're being you, does your body, lots of people say, oh, this is my body, but it's not me. Like, so what's the difference between being and including your body?
Well, the thing is, see, you're an infinite being. And infinite basically means really, 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 really big. Okay? So it's like, but you should have a connection with your body. But most of us tend not to. We tend to have so many judgments of our bodies that we picked up along the way that we don't want to have anything to do with them anymore, which is what happens when you judge anything, including yourself. So, so do this. Everybody out there, if you're willing to, close your eyes and just go out and touch the outside edges of you. Not your body, you. Cool. So wherever that is, nice. Now go 100 meters further in all directions. Are you there too? Now go a kilometer further in all directions. Are you there too? Now go 100 kilometers further in all directions. Are you there too? Now 1,000. Are you there too? Now 100,000 kilometers in all directions. Say what? Are you there also? Yeah, you are, and you can open your eyes whenever you're ready. But notice wherever you go, there you are. You can tap into any space that you choose to tap into because you're an infinite being, which means, like I said, you're really, really big, which means you have a lot more access to a lot more things than you've ever acknowledged. But also, it means that your body's actually inside of you. You're not inside of your body. And what we've been trying to do is we've been trying to make ourselves only this big when what really would be fun for us is to be that big, you know, and be the largeness of space we would like to be. So you might ask yourself right now, like, what space would I like to occupy? If I could occupy any space, what would be comfortable for me and what would give me ease with my body? Because what happens is when we try to figure things out or when we try to deal with people's stuff, their trauma and drama or their emotions or whatever it is, we get really close to our bodies and we make ourselves a lot smaller than we are. Because if you're an infinite being, you have the capacity for infinite space. And most people that doesn't mean anything to because they're like, oh, space is emptiness. No, it's actually not. It's actually the fullness of everything that's possible. You could create anything from being this infinite being that we're talking about. But what happens is when you try to figure things out, you get really close to your body, and it makes your body hurt because it's kind of like enforcing you on your body. And the other thing is when you make yourself that small, other people's thoughts and feelings and emotions have a huge impact on you because there's, you know, millions or billions of people around on the planet, and all of their thoughts, feelings, and emotions and all their stuff hit you like these little pebbles, and when you're this big, it really hurts. But imagine going out 100,000 kilometers in all directions. Now how much are their thoughts, their feelings, and everything affecting you? They don't nearly as much. And that's the weird part. And for those of you who are like, I don't get it. I don't expand out like that. I don't know what you're talking about, Dr. Dain. I can't do this. I don't know what you're saying. I used to feel the same way. And one of the things that I found in working with a lot of people around the planet in the last 15 years is that a lot of times the people that think they don't get this energy stuff, quote unquote, are actually the people that at some point had even more awareness than everybody else. But they had so much awareness that it either hurt because they were so aware, it was like everybody else was hearing the volume of what was going on in people's heads at a 1 and you were hearing it at 101, or that you had awarenesses that nobody else had and you felt like you were all alone, and so you turned down the knob on your awareness for those or some other reason. So all of you out there who have the judgment that you don't get this energy stuff, that you don't know how to expand out, or let's go with that first. I'll try to actually finish one sentence before moving on to the next. Everything that is, everywhere where you decided you don't get it, when in actuality you know you get it way more than you want to know you get it, but you don't want to know you get it, so you're sitting here believing you don't get it. Will you destroy it and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Okay, that's the first one on that thing, but now the next thing is, one of the other things that I found is that a lot of you think you don't get this energy stuff because as soon as somebody asks you to do it, you're already there doing it. So if I say go out 100,000 kilometers in all directions, as soon as I say 100 and go to say 1,000, about 90% of you went out and did it already energetically because you're that quick. And if you've ever been taught, you know, like you've been doing something where somebody's doing visualization or something or some kind of energetic something or other, and they said to do it and you did it, but if nobody acknowledges that you're that fast, you do it, and then you go to try to do what you just did, except you can't do what you just did because you already did it. So you can only come up with a conclusion that you don't know how to do it, except in actuality you're so fast, not so slow. And this one thing, my beautiful friends, is one of the biggest things that I've noticed with people in every aspect of anybody that I've worked with in the last 15 years. And I have worked with tens of thousands of people personally, okay? Now, with the other access facilitators around the world, we've worked with millions of people. And I'm going to say this, there's not one time in one class or one session that has been done in the last 25 years since Gary Douglas started this cool movement called Access. Not one class, not one session, and there have been millions of them done. Has the problem been that somebody was more screwed up than they thought they were? Hasn't ever been the case. Ever. So the problem is always that you think you're screwed up when you're not, and part of what I'd like people to start getting is there's a greatness that you have and a capacity that you have and an awareness that you have and a speed that you have and a brilliance that you have and a caring that you have and a kindness and a gentleness and a sweetness and a gifting you'd like to be for the world, and that's what I would like to invite for you to have show up. Because when you do, our world gets greater. And everything that doesn't allow you to know that you know and know what you know and know what you know about that you know and know that you know about what you know and to know that you know and get to know you in totality, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Now, all of this was started by Tanya's question about our bodies. How many of you have judgments of your body? And how many of you have the judgment of your body because you've been told it's the reason you can't be infinite? It's the reason you can't be spiritual. It's the reason you can't be happy. It's the reason you feel bad about yourself. Poor body, you know what? Your body is like a plant. It's like an animal. The only points of view it has are the ones that we force on it. It doesn't have points of view of its own that are judgments. It only has points of view of its own about the possibilities of what it would like to be and what it would like to create. So everything you've done to judge your body and act like it was your body's fault, everywhere where you bought that from somebody else, all the automatic responder systems and all the crushed autoresponder systems you have in your body that are where you respond automatically rather than having choice, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Hope that helps somebody, because I know I confused a lot of people on that one. Just, I'm just frying people's brains. That's what I do.
Yes. Can you talk about that too, Dain? Like, I mean, the courage that it does take to be you. Like,
Yeah.
it does take a lot of courage to be you.
Yeah. It really is one of the most courageous undertakings you can undertake, which is, on the one hand, it's kind of cool because it's like, wow, you know what? It's like sort of like the last great unexplored frontier, truly getting to be you and the consciousness that you are and can be in connection with. And so it's easier. Well, let me put it this way. It seems easier for most people to try to do what everybody else wants, or what's been expected of them their whole lives, or what's expected of them in their relationship, or what's expected of them in any way. And yet, so you mentioned this thing about it actually takes courage to be you, and it does, because what you're doing is you're bucking the system. You're actually going, hey, you know what? I'm not going to buy the idea that I've got to do what everybody else says I've got to do. And some people are going to be frustrated with you when you don't automatically give in to their demands. They'll be frustrated that they can't control you anymore. They'll be frustrated and they'll say things like, oh, you're not a good person anymore, and all the crap that people say. And so it takes courage to be willing to make that leap into truly finding out what is true for you. It's really easy in a sense, even though it kind of destroys our sense of happiness, but it's easy in a sense for people to do what's expected of them because they know what that is, whether it's in their relationship or anything else, or whether it's, do what your parents expect or what have you, because we know what that is, and because it seems like when we do that, it makes other people happier, so that's probably a good thing to do, except what kind of doesn't work for us most of the time, because our entire life is about trying to do what other people find valuable and real and true. So how many of you actually have the courage to choose to be you, even if it's different than what you thought it was going to be like? That if you actually allowed yourself to do that, allowed yourself to actually choose to be you, would give you more happiness, more joy than you ever thought possible. Everything that is times a gazillion, we disintegrate it. Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
I think that's great what you said there, Dain. Like, most of us go into, oh, they're doing something really great, I'll just follow what they're doing.
Yeah.
Is there being something this, I'm going to do that. So I think being you is different, like, for everybody, obviously.
Yes.
But what tools can you use to say, oh, okay, is this really me being this, or am I just being someone else?
Well, so what if you asked yourself, what if you're like, hey, what would it be like to truly be me? Like, if a question you can ask yourself in different situations. If I were truly being me in this situation, what would I choose? And it's like, whoa, that's weird. And you may ask yourself that 25 times before you even get an awareness of what the answer is, because we're so used to sort of trying to do things from this other place where other people are more valuable than us. But if you were just ask yourself that, okay, if I were truly being me, what would I choose? All of a sudden you'll start to have different awarenesses of different things that can be possible. And what would I truly like to choose here? Here's another question you can look at, is if there were no past, and if there were only present and future, what would I choose right now? And you may not get awareness the first time you ask. You may, but you may not get awareness the first time you ask. That's not because you're wrong or there's something wrong with you. It's only because you haven't been looking from your own point of view. And so one of the other things that can help is just for the next couple of days, just as you hear people talking or as you have different people having different conversations, what you want to do is you just want to go, okay, how is my point of view different than theirs? How is my point of view different than theirs? And start to get a sense and an awareness of what your point of view actually is, even if it's totally different than other people's. You'll start to recognize that, wait a minute, I have different stuff going on than other people have going on. Oh my gosh, I always thought that I was just like these people, but I'm not. Now, it may be a little weird for a while because you won't know how to interact with them, but the more you get your awareness of you, and this is one of the other things that I think is really important to get, is the more you get your awareness of you, you actually become kinder. You actually become kinder to the people around you. You actually become more of a contribution. There's more caring in your world. There's more ease in your world being around people. There's more fun in your world. And so it's this thing where all the stuff you've been asking for and all the stuff you've been looking for really can come from you being you and getting clear on what that is and what you would like in different situations in your life and what you would like out of your life. So let me give you trying to think. Thinking is not my best forte. Let me perceive what might be best. How about that? That tends to work better anyway. So, so everybody out there, if you'd allow yourself to get a sense of what it would be like if you had no past that you had to rely on, and nobody in the past that you had to do anything for. If you could have total caring for everybody who's ever been in your life and been in your past, but if you went, you know what, now, starting right now, I'm going to start to create my life in the present and for the future. So, imagine if you fired everybody that was in your life. Who would you hire back tomorrow or right now? Okay, they're all fired. Let's fire them all. Okay, everybody, you're fired. Bye-bye. Pock and pod. Bye-bye. Okay, who would you hire back? Now, for a moment, just recognize that the people you'd probably hire back are the ones that truly have your back, the people that are actually caring for you, the people that have no judgment of you, and the people that want to see you succeed and want to see you be as great as you actually are. Now, if you have 3 people like that in your life, you're doing pretty well, given the way most people function in the world. So everything that doesn't allow you to look at you the way they would, and this is the question you want to ask, how would I look at me and how would I perceive me? And how would I know me? What would I know about me if I were to look through the eyes of somebody who had no judgment of me? If I were to look through the eyes of somebody who totally cared about me? If I were to look through the eyes of somebody who had my back and who saw me as the greatness that I'm not yet willing to be, how would I be and how would I perceive me? And everything that doesn't allow you to at least get the energy of that or an inkling of the energy of that. Will you destroy and ungrade it, please?
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Ooh, that's got a bit of energy to it. So everything you've done to place value on the people that truly don't get you, thinking, and the people that, everything you've done to place value on the people that don't get you, and the people that are in judgment of you, thinking if you could finally get them to change their judgments because their judgments are valuable, then you'd finally have succeeded. Will you destroy and ungrade it, please? Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. So another thing is, get the energy, get the sense of the way it would be if you woke up tomorrow and had absolutely no judgment of you or anyone. Ding! And if you felt like you were totally connected with everyone and everything around you, and you just had a sense of peace and happiness, and you felt this sense of ease. And now, from there, imagine all of your debts were taken care of, and all of your past expenditures, and all that sort of stuff that worries you. Imagine all the worries you have in your relationships and with your kids or your relationship people just kind of dissolved. And you finally get to breathe. Now, what would you choose to carry forward into your life, and who would you choose to carry forward? And what would you choose to create? Like for example, just get the energy of it, because you might not know what you'd like to create. Maybe you'd like to have something that created income that's maybe 2 times what you make right now, or maybe 5 times, or maybe 10 times. Get a sense of the way it would be to have that. Get a sense of the way it would be as your financial difficulties melted away and your relationship difficulties melted away. And would you also like to do something that was fun and maybe changed all the time, where people were grateful for you and they came up, they're like, oh my God, you changed my life so much. Something where you were actually contributing to a different possibility in people's lives that just made you feel so friggin' good to be able to do that. And you don't have to know where the money's coming from. This is just get the energy of having it. And now, and by the way, everybody who's decided they can't have all of that, that it's not possible, that somehow it can't work for you because you don't get all this, we just run and create it, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Okay, now get the sense of the way it would be to have people in your life who truly got you and were grateful for you, who really got a sense and a gratitude for the friendship that you are and the type of person that you are, who really just adore you. And now imagine that you're able to create all of this and create whatever type of work it is that you like and love, that you get to travel and do all the things you've always wanted to do. What energy would that have? Now put that energy in front of you, like here, and pull energy into it from all over the universe. And pull energy into it from the earth, and the earth that so wants to contribute to you, because it knows you're here even though you keep thinking it doesn't. It wants to contribute its magic to you, so stop refusing it, dum-dum. Thank you. And now pull energy into it even more, into that little ball or bubble in front of you. More. Cool. Like that. And your heart should open up. And now let little trickles go out to everyone and everything who's going to help make it a reality for you that you don't even know yet. Do that every 3 or 4 days. I did this once. And a week later I was invited to travel. And it was the first time I'd ever been invited to travel to facilitate a class and to do sessions and work on people. And it literally started my traveling around the world. Now, it may or may not work once, but what you want to do is do it every 3 or 4 days. And start to pull into your life and your world the life and living you would like to create. And anything that feels like that energy, go do it. If somebody calls you for coffee and it's like, wow, it feels just like that energy of the thing that I just did with the thing with Dain and Tanya, go do it. Because they may talk about somebody or talk about a concept or talk about a business or talk about a person or talk about something or introduce you to somebody or something that will further that along. This is a totally different way of creating your life, and it can sound sort of airy-fairy or too simple for some of you, and I totally get it. I thought the same thing until I did it once, got clear of the energy I'd like my life to be, and all of a sudden my life started heading in that direction. I'm like, wow, okay, cool. So now I do it, once every couple of weeks because I'd like to go, okay, I'd like more and more and more. So this is a tool and I use all the time, but it can literally start to get you headed in the direction of the energy of what your life can be. And when you let your life be led by the energy, now you're no longer limiting and defining it by your point of view of, oh, I can't do this or I can't have this or it's got to look this way or blah, 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 blah. And I've seen people create miracles using this one tool. So this is one way to start getting clear on what it is you desire and actually starting to create it, and go follow anything that feels like that. So there.
I know we're getting close to the end anyway, Dain, but I feel so good after you just said that. But what if you're going along, you're being you, yeah, and then something happens, someone happens, cut you down, and you're like,
yes.
What do you do to get back up there again?
Yeah, I love that question. What you want to do is one of the simplest things you can do is think back to a recent time when you know you were being you, whatever that is, where, it may have been you were out in nature like you talked about. It may have been after great sex. It may have been with a conversation with a friend where you just like explored or these things, possibilities, or where you got together and you ended the walls that had been between you and somebody and you just felt so relieved and so happy. Think of any time in the past, the most recent past, where you were that, and just call on that energy again and just kind of like close your eyes for a moment, just kind of be with it as though you're being that again. And then what you want to do is you want to pock and pod everything that doesn't allow that to show up. You go, okay, pock and pod everything that doesn't allow me to be even more of that now. Because one of the other things that I want to put into your awareness is, one, the only time that occurs, the only time you're like really being you and having a sense of the ease and the joy of being alive, and then you get tanked, is because there's a greater level of it available that you're now willing to have. which I know sounds weird because we want to look and go, no, I'm stupid, and see, I screwed up, I lost my being, but that's not actually what's going on. In actuality, there's a greater level of it that's available, and this is the only way to get there. I recently had a collision with a tree at 30 miles an hour because my horse threw me into it. And I had a choice. I could look at that and go, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Notice that's not a question, that's a judgment about my wrongness. So if you go into what did I do wrong, please know you're just judging you. Pot and pock the crap out of that and remember this hangout, please. Okay? Because I could have done what did I do wrong. But what I went to was I looked and I went, okay, what awareness did I get here? And as I was on the ground, hardly able to breathe, gasping in pain, I looked and went, I got a choice here. I can sit here and I can be gasping in pain and this pathetic as I'm pretending to be right now. And what happened was I said, I can either do that or I can find a way through this. And that's what you want to do. What's it going to take to get through this with the most ease? And pot and pock everything that doesn't allow it. And that's what I did. I said, you know, I can either sit here being this way and just totally lose it and just give in to the pathetic, or I can make another choice. And just then, my friend who was with me, Susie, who works with me, there were a group of us that were out riding, and Susie got off of her horse to help me, and everybody else went back because they needed to start class. And Susie's there with her hand on my back. I'm kneeling on the ground going, and having searing pain every time I go to take a deep breath. And I said, okay. I said something about, you know, my ribs, and she's like, you know what, I think they're broken. And here's what happened for me. Now, I had this choice, right? I'm standing on the fence between, am I going to go into the pathetic, where there's this reality of limitation that I know really well because I grew up there and I lived there, and it's why I wanted to kill myself 15 years ago before I came to Access, and was going to if things didn't change. And then I've become aware that there's this other reality of the magic of us. It's this reality of possibilities that's available. And here I was on the fence. And I mean, like, in a way that I haven't been in a very long time. And she said, and here I am thinking I'm going to go over here because my body hurts so much. And she says this thing of, I think your ribs are broken. And I looked at her with a ferocity that probably would have just laser beamed right through her. And I said, they are fucking not. This is not happening. I am not living that life, and I am not living that reality. This changes now. And instantly I went into this reality. We have choice, guys, and this is what I want you to get is don't make yourself wrong for either choice. Don't make yourself wrong for the places you go into this pathetic. I have chosen this so many times. I have chosen this hundreds of thousands, if not millions and billions of times. Even in the last few years, and I've been doing Access a long time, the difference is now it's a lot easier to get out and step into my reality of possibilities. So what you want to ask is, am I choosing this reality of limitation, or am I choosing my reality of possibilities? Am I choosing this reality of limitation, or am I choosing my reality of possibilities? And just be real honest with yourself. And if you're choosing, here's the other thing. Now, this is part of being you, which, remember, is not judging you. If you're choosing this reality of limitation, friggin' enjoy it. Stop acting like you shouldn't and resisting it. Here's what you want to do. You want to give yourself a time frame. What I've done in the past is when I'm really being pathetic and mopey and weak, I'm like, okay, I'm giving myself 10 minutes to totally go there. And I'll sit and I'll go, I'll hit the bed or whatever it is, you know, and I'll give myself 10 minutes. And usually it takes about 3 minutes of me totally going there and no longer resisting it before I find myself coming out of it. You want to don't judge yourself, just give yourself a time frame. Go, you know what, I'm totally going to experience this totally limited reality because I'm obviously choosing it right now. I'm not going to make myself wrong, but I am going to friggin' enjoy it. And I'm going to be as intense as I can possibly be, and I'm going to be as cranky as I can possibly be, and I'm going to enjoy being as cranky as I can possibly be. And so you're not anymore. So don't resist it. Don't make yourself wrong. That allows you to come out of it a lot faster. And then the other thing you want to ask is, what's it going to take to get me out of this? And some of the things I've noticed that help get me out of it are Access bars. Getting my bars run helps so much. Whenever I'm cranky, my first thing is, okay, can somebody please run my bars? And it helps about 99% of the time, if not 100% of the time. So that's one. The other thing is I'll listen to these processing loops that we have. You know, I ran some of these processes on this Hangout. Well, we have processing loops, and I listen to those, and it changes things. Or I'll listen to an access class, and it changes things. Or I'll go for a jog, or I'll go for a swim, or I'll go out in nature, or I'll go put my feet in the grass and say, Earth, will you please give to me? Or I'll call somebody that I know really cares about me and has my back, and I'll say, hey, can I just have a hug, please? Or I'll go over and physically give somebody a hug. So what I'd suggest everybody, please do this on a piece of paper or on a, you know, on your phone, on the notes part or something. Start writing down a list of resources, of things you know that when you do them, make you feel more like you. Listening to Dr. Dain's Google Hangouts. Hello, one example. Okay. Listening to Tanya and I talking. You know, whatever it is for you. A lot of these things that I mentioned may do that for you. It may be a hot bath. It may be a foot massage. It may be a massage. It just can be all kinds of things. There are all kinds of ways that you can change your state. One of the biggest that I found is access bars and getting your body moving. Those are two of the biggest I found that can actually change things. So there was a really long-winded answer to your question, but I want you to get that there is this choice you have. Are you going to go back to the limited reality, or are you going to choose your reality of possibilities? Don't make yourself wrong for either choice, but recognize you do have a choice now. And things have changed in the world in the last few days, the last few weeks, the last few months, the last few years, probably all of the above, to where there is a different choice available. And I'd like you to know that. And I'm sure a lot of you do know that, probably why a lot of you are watching this Hangout. There's a different choice available, guys. There's a choice where we can actually start to have us in a way we never have before. And that's exciting to me, because I see more people choosing more of them than I've ever seen before. And it's one of the coolest things I could ever imagine. Because when you choose more of you, your world gets greater. And the weird part is when you choose more of you, our world gets greater.
How's it going to be better?
Exactly.
Okay. I just thought I might mention, Dain, that you have some classes coming up that people may want to be interested in attending.
Yay!
You've got in London on the November 5th and 7th a Symphony of Possibilities class, which you can attend live or online.
Yay!
In Mumbai.
It's going to be fun, by the way.
Of course.
Hello.
And in Mumbai, a Taste of Being class, which is November 14th.
Mumbai.
Mumbai.
Lovely Mumbai. Huh? Hello, my Indian friends. How you doing? I can't wait to see you again.
So that's November 14th, and that's online as well. And that one has no prerequisites. So it'd be great to, if you haven't done an access class before, to sign up for that one. You've got the new in Noosa, Australia. Yay! The EFC, which is November 22nd to 24th, and that's an online class as well. And another Taste of Being, which is on November 27th, which is online. Or how about coming to Noosa? Come to beautiful Australia.
Seriously, why would you not want to come to Noosa? You know what I'm saying? I mean, come to Noosa. Come to Noosa. Play with us. Come to Noosa. Come to Noosa. Come to Noosa.
So that's just your list of classes for November, up and coming. So
awesome. Thank you, my dear.
Put you there.
Yes. Come and play. And we'll send you all that info in the email that you get after this, along with the video of me explaining the clearing statement for those of you who don't know about the clearing statement. So, Tanya, my dear, do you have anything else, or shall I close us out here?
I think that's great. I mean, I probably do have heaps more to say, but it's time to go.
Darn that time to go thing, right? So, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Tanya, thank you very much for being my what is that? What is that when you do stuff? My cohort in crime. Yeah, that's what it is. Thank you for being my cohort in crime today. I'm very grateful to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And all of you beautiful people watching, thank you so much for being part of this. And you know what, guys? There's a totally different possibility available. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not so easy. But you know what? Life just starts to get more fun. And that's what I would wish for you. That's what I would hope for you. What the bleep is being when you get to live your life with a sense of peace, ease, joy, and fun and possibilities, and know that you can truly change anything you want and truly start to head in the direction of creating anything you want. I'm very grateful for your presence. Thank you for giving us your time today and your energy and attention. Thank you for the contribution you are. And what if you, truly being you, are the gift, the change, and the possibility this beautiful planet and this beautiful world require. Thanks for being, y'all. I look forward to seeing you in person. Bye.
Ah.